The story opens with a cold, elegant evening at a luxury hotel where an exclusive business gala is taking place. The poor girl, Mia, stands quietly near the corner, clutching a tray of drinks. She isn't a guest, she's part of the serving staff, working extra shifts to pay her rent and help her ailing mother. Her eyes reflect quiet determination, even as her uniform is slightly faded and her shoes worn. Despite her struggles, Mia holds her head high. As she moves through the glittering crowd of executives and socialites, laughter and music fill the air. But her world comes to a sudden halt when she hears a voice she'll never forget, Ethan, her ex-boyfriend. The man who once promised her forever, now dressed in an expensive suit, stands surrounded by rich investors and his new girlfriend, Clara, a stunning woman from a wealthy family. When Ethan notices Mia serving drinks, a mocking smile creeps onto his face. "Mia. You work here," he says loudly, making sure everyone hears. The guests chuckle softly, their judgmental eyes cutting through her pride. She feels her cheeks burn, but she stays composed, whispering politely, "Good evening, sir." Ethan smirks, "I guess dreams don't pay bills after all, huh?" Clara giggles, holding his arm possessively. The humiliation pierces Mia's heart like a knife. She had once believed Ethan loved her for who she was, not for her bank balance. But now, standing in her worn shoes among the glittering heels of the elite, she feels painfully out of place. Still, she refuses to cry. Inside, her heart trembles, but her eyes remain strong. She tries to walk away with dignity, but fate seems cruel. Ethan's mocking words follow her. "I guess some people just belong to the lower floor." Just then, a ripple moves through the crowd as the millionaire CEO, Adrian Knight, walks in, tall, commanding, with an aura that demands respect. Everyone's attention shifts to him. And in that very moment, his sharp eyes meet hers, the poor girl he once encountered in the rain months ago, the same girl who had returned his lost wallet without expecting a reward. Mia lowers her gaze, wishing she could disappear. She doesn't know yet that this humiliating encounter will soon become the turning point of her entire life, when a powerful man will step forward to defend her pride, and everything will change forever. Mia's heart pounded in her chest as the laughter behind her echoed like cruel music. Every step she took away from Ethan felt heavier than the last. His mocking tone, the whispers of the guests, the humiliation, it was all too much. She wanted to vanish, to escape the piercing stares that reminded her she didn't belong in this glittering world. She slipped into the hallway outside the ballroom, her trembling hands clutching the empty tray to her chest. Her breath came out uneven. "Why did I come here?" she thought. "Why did I let him see me like this?" The pain of the past, of love lost to greed, came rushing back. Ethan had once promised her a future built on dreams, but the moment he realized she couldn't give him luxury, he'd walked away without hesitation. And now, here she was, the poor girl serving drinks while he flaunted his new, glamorous life. Just as tears threatened to fall, a deep voice broke through her thoughts. "Are you all right?" She turned, startled, and froze. It was Adrian Knight, the powerful CEO everyone admired and feared. His presence was magnetic, his gaze sharp yet unexpectedly gentle. She remembered him instantly, the man whose wallet she had found months ago and returned without taking the reward he'd offered. That day, he had smiled at her honesty. Now, standing before him again, she felt both comforted and exposed. "I'm fine, sir," she whispered, forcing a small smile. But he could see through it. His brow furrowed slightly. "You don't look fine," he said quietly. At that moment, the ballroom doors opened behind them, and Ethan appeared with Clara on his arm. Their eyes widened as they spotted Mia standing beside Adrian Knight, the most powerful man in the room. Ethan's smirk returned, ready to mock again. Mia's pride broke before her fear did. Without thinking, she turned to Adrian, her voice trembling but determined. "Mr. Knight," she whispered, "could you, please, pretend to be my boyfriend? Just for 5 minutes." The room seemed to freeze. Even Adrian looked momentarily stunned. But in Mia's eyes, he saw a plea, not for attention, but for dignity. Then, slowly, a knowing smile curved his lips. He stepped closer, his hand brushing hers gently before he said, "Only 5 minutes?" In that instant, with the crowd watching and her ex speechless, Mia didn't realize it yet, but her 5 minutes of pretense were about to change both of their lives forever. The ballroom fell into stunned silence. Every eye turned toward them, the poor waitress standing beside the most powerful man in the room. For a moment, it felt as if time itself had paused. Mia's heart raced, she could hardly breathe. What did I just ask him? She thought. He's a CEO, and I'm just, me. But to her astonishment, Adrian Knight didn't hesitate for long. He looked at her with calm intensity, and then something shifted in his eyes, curiosity, admiration, and perhaps a spark of protectiveness. Slowly, he reached out his hand and said clearly, "If that's what you want, then I'll play along." Gasps rippled through the crowd as Adrian gently placed his hand on the small of Mia's back and led her back into the ballroom, no longer as a waitress, but as his girlfriend. The music softened, conversation stilled. Everyone who had moments ago looked down on her now watched in disbelief. Ethan's smirk vanished. His expression twisted in confusion. "Wait, her? Adrian, you're saying she's your girlfriend?" he asked, half laughing, half panicked. Adrian turned his sharp gaze toward him. "Is there a problem?" he said in a cool, commanding tone that made even the richest men in the room fall silent. "Mia is with me. And I don't appreciate anyone disrespecting her." The words struck like thunder. Mia could barely believe what she was hearing. The same people who mocked her minutes ago now stared at her with forced smiles, rushing to greet her politely as Miss Mia. Ethan stammered, trying to save face. I didn't mean anything, of course. I was just surprised." But his voice trembled. Clara clung to his arm, suddenly uneasy under the weight of the crowd's shifting judgment. Adrian didn't glance back. Instead, he leaned toward Mia and whispered softly, "Relax. You're doing fine." His voice was low, reassuring, and for the first time that night, she felt seen, protected. Mia's eyes shimmered. What began as a desperate plea had turned into something surreal, a powerful man defending her with absolute confidence, not because he had to, but because he wanted to. For those 5 minutes, she wasn't the poor girl serving drinks. She was the woman standing proudly beside a man who saw her worth when no one else did. And though it was supposed to be an act, something deep in Adrian's gaze made her wonder. What if it wasn't pretend at all? The night that began as a charade slowly turned into something neither of them expected. What was meant to be 5 minutes of pretense began stretching into something far more real. Every moment, every glance between Mia and Adrian carried an unspoken electricity, a connection that neither could ignore. As they moved through the ballroom together, Adrian played the role of the perfect boyfriend with effortless grace. His hand never left hers, his gestures were gentle yet protective. When he introduced her to a group of investors, there was no hesitation in his voice, only quiet confidence. "This is Mia," he said simply, his tone filled with pride. Mia could barely keep up with the emotions flooding her chest. A few hours ago, she had been invisible, a poor waitress mocked by the man who once broke her heart. Now, she was standing beside a man whose presence commanded the room. Every time their eyes met, her pulse quickened. She couldn't tell if it was gratitude, admiration, or something deeper blooming inside her heart. Meanwhile, Ethan watched from across the room, his face pale and tense. The laughter that once dripped with arrogance had disappeared. Seeing Mia smile, genuinely smile, beside a man like Adrian made something in him twist painfully. For the first time, he realized the value of what he had thrown away. Clara's words faded into the background as regret began to consume him. Adrian noticed Ethan's expression but said nothing. Instead, he leaned close to Mia and whispered, "He's not worth another thought." The warmth in his voice melted the walls she had built around her heart. She looked up at him, whispering softly, "Thank you, for standing up for me." His gaze softened. "You don't have to thank me," he replied. "No one deserves to be treated the way he treated you." Those simple words pierced deeper than she expected. Beneath the CEO's cold, powerful image, Mia saw kindness, the kind that wasn't born of pity but of genuine respect. The music swelled as Adrian guided her onto the dance floor. For a few minutes, the rest of the world disappeared. Her trembling hands found courage in his steady grip. It wasn't a performance anymore, not for her, and not for him. By the time the song ended, both of them knew something had changed. The line between pretending and feeling had blurred completely. And though neither dared to say it aloud, they both knew, this was no longer just an act. The ballroom had slowly returned to its usual rhythm, with laughter, chatter, and clinking glasses filling the space once again. But for Mia and Adrian, the world outside their bubble no longer mattered. What had started as a desperate plea, a 5-minute performance to save her dignity, had evolved into a quiet revelation. Something real was forming between them. Adrian guided Mia toward the exit, his hand still securely holding hers. Outside, the night air was cool and refreshing, carrying the faint scent of autumn leaves. Mia let out a soft sigh, finally allowing herself to breathe. She had survived humiliation, confronted her past, and stood beside someone who not only protected her but seemed to truly see her worth. They walked in comfortable silence for a few moments, their shadows stretching long under the streetlights. Mia glanced at him, hesitant but curious. Why did you agree?" she asked softly. "You didn't even know me that well." Adrian's eyes softened, and for the first time, his guarded exterior seemed to melt. "Because courage deserves respect," he replied, his voice low and sincere. "And because I've seen you before, the real you. The one who doesn't ask for anything in return, who stays honest even when it's hard. That girl, she's worth protecting." Mia felt her chest tighten. His words weren't just comforting, they were powerful, almost overwhelming. She realized, with a flutter of disbelief and hope, that Adrian wasn't just pretending to care. He actually did. For the first time that evening, Mia allowed herself to imagine a future beyond survival. She pictured laughter without fear, evenings where she wouldn't be judged for her past, and moments shared with someone who valued her entirely. Adrian paused near her door, the soft glow of the streetlight illuminating his face. He looked down at her, his gaze intense yet tender. "Mia," he whispered, "maybe we should stop pretending." Her heart skipped a beat. The word she had only hoped for now hung in the cool night air, fragile yet exhilarating. A smile spread across her face, one that held both relief and anticipation. She nodded slowly, whispering, "Maybe we should." As she stepped inside, the door closing softly behind her, Mia felt something shift deep within her. It was no longer about saving face or proving herself to an ex. It was about trust, connection, and the possibility of love that was genuine, powerful, and unexpected. That night marked not just the end of a humiliating encounter but the start of a new chapter, one where Mia could finally dream freely, with Adrian by her side, not as a pretense, but as a partner, protector, and perhaps something even more profound.